I can guarantee you that you will love today's show. So karibu sana, even as we make it grand, simple, and we get to enjoy this love. Just looking at what you can see around here, it's quite a beautiful and executive entrance, courtesy of marvelous executives, or Marvel, call them Marvel, yes, they are marvelous, Marvel executive car hire session, and of course we'll be having a moment with them so that they can tell us what is this so marvelous about executive cast. And that's the entrance this day on the Morning Cafe. Please join me. Let's make it executive. Let's make it fun. Let's get to enjoy. It is a full house of activities right now. And we're setting out for an executive cast. We don't make a lot of noise, and therefore let's just take it calm. Let's just get to enjoy the best of music that we have today. And of course, Fredia will not disappoint. And just looking at it, it's a whole red carpet affair. Those things that you must have when you are having an event, those things that you must consider. We'll talk about, baby showers, talk about, gracing your homes, talk about weddings, talk about all these events that you'd ever imagine to set up for your friends, for your loved one. It is important that you make sure that at least you have something to eat. Make sure that you get them coming into the venue in style, have a nice venue, and of course with proper decor, as you can see right here today. That's all will be about. I mean, you do not miss a cake. And we'll also be having a cake. So who are these people who are gracing our shows today? You have seen me getting into the set, or getting into the studio in style. Yes, this is our studio today, and that is courtesy of Marvel Executive Car Hires. And of course we'll be having an engagement with them later on, just to know what they're all about and how you can get a hold of them in the event that you have this special event that you certainly want it to be a bit different. And so they'll be telling us how you get a hold of them, how you get to hire these executive cars, and boom, that will be helping you out. It's an S-Class Mercedes that is 350. I just dropped here in that. You can imagine it's going to be a classy, nice and beautiful event. Valentine's Cake House will be here to make sure that at least we have a cake for you. Every Friday we always give you a cake, so you can get that cake voucher and pick that cake from wherever it is that you'd want to pick it from. Remember, they have about 20 something branches across the country, and so they'll be telling us where these branches later on as we engage an official from there. We'll also be having fashion designers. You need to look good when you're having this event. In most cases, you're told, by the way, if you're going to an event, make sure that you have 2-3 dresses, so at least moja ikimwagikiwa na wine, then you cross over and get a different one. And so we'll also be having pistis, threads and stitches and Joyma collections, and they'll be telling us all about beauty and how you dress and grace yourself for this event. We also do not forget Blooms and Drips Events Limited. They're the ones who made this beautiful setup for us, so make sure that you also check them out and see whether they can come in handy for that particular event that you're holding over the weekend. It's not too late. You can always give them that call, and they will make sure that that you're sorted, and your event will be all gloom and bloom, as they would say. So karibu sana. It's a great session of Morning Cafe, and I'm honored to have you joining us this morning. Fredia is right there to make sure that at least you get to enjoy the best of music. So Fredia will holler at you later. Karibu sana. As always, thank you so much for always making our sets great and our mornings beautiful every Friday morning. It's a feel-good Friday, and we welcome you to this great session. We're looking forward to have an incredible one right from now going all the way to 9 a.m. We'll also have a proper conversation. I mean, it's good that even as we're making it fun and bloom and gloom, I mean, it's also important that we have discussions that are of importance. And as we speak about this, how important sometimes it would be for you to hold your events somewhere where there's wildlife and all that. And over years and over time, we are losing our wildlife, day in, day out, probably faster, 10,000 times faster than the extinct process that you would expect. And so we'll just have this proper conversation on how we get to protect our wildlife with a legal expert and an attorney who will help us understand what they are doing in their own special way to make sure that wildlife is protected. So it's a full house of activities. Please join me. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV 47KE. It is my honor to have you and also have you interact with us. As you interact with us, remember there's a cake for you. So tell us who's this one person you'd want to celebrate, and we'll definitely get them, to have this cake. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela at TV 47KE. The SMS short code 22047. And Simiu Patricia is seated already, and she is the guest of the day. She'll be taking us through this conversation of how we get to protect our wildlife. Very, very important that we do that. Sometimes we want to hold our events somewhere where there's wildlife. You can sit up and, just look at them and how beautiful they are. How many times have we seen people traveling to Kenya just to view and enjoy wildlife? You get a chance to see zebras, you get a chance to see lions, you get a chance to see elephants, buffaloes, or is it buffaloes, depending on where you're schooled. And it's just something that cannot be matched to anything. So imagine a scenario where you'll only be reading of these things in books. You'll only be seeing these animals in books. We really want to run away from that. How many of you have had the privilege of seeing dinosaurs? We're told they extinct long time ago. Probably we could have done something to protect them. Remember the story of the white elephant. What walikuwa wanamuita Sudan. And then we lost Sudan just like that. And the biggest fear was that maybe we'd never have a white elephant. At least the other day we received news, some good news, that can be revived and can be changed to a different thing. But can we really bank on that? Why don't we protect them at this early stage? So Simiu, thank you so much for creating time for us. You're coming at a day where we're having a different, setup and look and all that. Karibu, there's wine for us. There is a cake for us. There's probably food for us. Karibu sana. I don't know whether they can see you well or whether you can be seen pretty well. Good to have you. Simiu Patricia is an assistant attorney at Lawyers Without Borders. First of all, we get to understand Lawyers Without Borders. Who are they? Who are these people?
Thank you, Linda. Lawyers Without Borders is a global and non-profit organization. We work with a whole range of people. We work with lawyers, we work with judges, in different areas in the world. What we ideally do is build the capacity of governments, of non-governmental organizations, and other legal justice institutions so that we can achieve rule of law and human rights, and strengthen those institutions to do that.
Okay.
So we basically do that in a range of ways. We will do trainings, for example. We'll do trial observations to ensure that the trial is in order or goes in line with what the law of that country prescribes. We also do, so in terms of trainings, I would say something like trial advocacy, where you get a number of lawyers or judges and you teach them how to, whether it is to make a proper ruling, whether it is to argue their cases in a better way. So that is what we ideally did in this current project.
All right. So when we're talking about this current project, then I would want to believe it's a project in regards to, dealing with wildlife crime.
Absolutely.
And, how then best we get to a point where, we can incorporate legal aspects of making sure that we deal with individuals that are being too radical on wildlife and understanding conservationists and is it conservationism? I don't know whether there's such a word. You will tell me. And just, rooting out this space where we'll have our animals no more.
Absolutely.
And we see that, at least we get to make sure that such is not going to be the case. So just what special is there about this program?
What's special is about this program is that we get to train, we get to build capacity of prosecutors to effectively respond to and prosecute cases of complex wildlife crime.
Okay.
And why we need to do this is we need wildlife, we need to conserve the environment. We live in a kind of symbiotic relationship with wildlife. We need trees, for example, so that we can, get water. We need animals in the sense that, we can get people employed in when we look at the economic sense of it. So we tend to benefit from having them, and now that calls for a reason to conserve that environment. So we say that in order for us to conserve, we need to put in measures or to build the capacity of the actors in that field so that they can effectively respond to these cases.
Right.
We do not want to have it ordinary. We want them to go beyond what we have now, gain knowledge and work around that new knowledge, because we are working with a whole range of other lawyers and judges outside Kenya, for example. We have had trainers from the US, from the UK, Canada. So how do we then harness this new knowledge that we have received from our trainers to be able to build up on what we have locally, so that we have these animals in order, we have the forests still are thriving, and we generate some level of benefit, both of us. Yes.
Well, tomorrow is World Environment Day, just so you know, or just in case you did not know. And you know, when we're talking about the environment, we talk about us as human beings, because, well, we make the environment as it is. We talk about where it is, nature itself. We talk about these trees that you speak about. We talk about the animals and the importance of preserving the same. And therefore, it is important that we have this talk. And Wakili, then I'd want to assume that there must have been a trigger. And like you rightfully put it, it is there statistically that we are losing about 10,000 times more, you know, the animals that we have today, 10,000 times faster than, you know, the natural way of extinction. And that should be cause for alarm. When you speak about representing and, you know, coming in to offer legal advice in regards to this, how rampant are these cases?
So we take note of the fact that these cases are actually on a super high level. Almost every other day we'll get, even in our daily news, that there has been some illegal logging somewhere, or there has been some human-wildlife conflict. We have had cases where you will hear trafficking of, you know, endangered species. So it is a case that goes on every day, and of course the more complex ways of even having it, you know, it has evolved over time and relating to other forms of organized crime. So it seems to take some other forms of, or other syndicates. It's not just a you know, one thing. It gets to, you know, touch on other areas, other crimes, and it's highly on the rise. And it's also a highly profitable business globally. So we take note of the fact that it may go beyond our borders, it may go beyond our continents, and it is on the rise. And so therefore there's a need to have this, you know, protection of this species either way. So how frequent? Every day it happens, and so we have to put in measures to ensure that we can have a reduction, and if we can, just have a stop.
Okay. Well, maybe we need to get to, or maybe we should have started by just understanding what exactly is wildlife crimes, because, you know, sometimes people could get into committing this without knowing that it's actually a crime.
Yes. Of course, wildlife crimes will touch on any crime that touches on anything that has been. That would mean that I'll have to go slightly to the legal aspect of it.
That's
anything
fine.
that has been classified as wildlife, and we'll realize we have legal framework that identify. We have, for example, Forest Conservation and Management Act, in the sense of protecting the forests. We have, when it comes to that, we'll realize we have been given certain provisions preventing you from, for example, logging, you know, illegal logging. You have to get permits, to ensure that you are able to log. But even charcoal, obtaining charcoal, you have to get, you know, permits. It's been prohibited. But you see now, the fact that not so many people know that it's wrong, you know, not so many people know that it's wrong. You can see someone can go, for example, even if it's in the forest, and obtain a plant. It might be an endangered species, a species that is not supposed to be traded in. And someone might just take it out and, you know, have it, say, you know, eat it, I don't know, something like that. And even when we come to wildlife, we have, let me just say, a case of pangolin, have it, say, escape from the park and get to the area where it's, you know, bordering the park. You will see some people might actually take pictures of it. The mere fact that you are taking a picture of it means you are putting it in more danger.
Is it so?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You know, you don't know how many people out there, it is an endangered species.
All right.
The mere fact that you're putting it out in the public, in social media.
You're telling them it's here.
You're telling them it's here, and it's highly profitable.
Okay.
So the mere fact that you're able to put it in some point of exposure, it has gone beyond its borders, and you are not able, you are supposed to get in touch with the officers that are in charge so that they can put it in a protected area. Many people do not know that, and that is why now prosecution is used as a preventive measures. We are hoping it is a prohibitive actually in nature to have more people know that if I do this, I might be in trouble. But we are hoping that more people are able to just work collaboratively so that we work with officers. We are hoping, as for example, Kenya Wildlife Officers, where our partners can be able to work with communities around conservation areas so that they can know. And they're also good because they know which animals, are supposed to be there, and which ones we are not supposed to expose.
Okay.
So it's more about, ensuring that we are all in the know so that we do not get in trouble, but we also do not expose those animals or plants in trouble as well.
Like you say, it's rampant across the global fraternity. Just how easy or how then do you deal with wildlife crime? One, at that legal perspective, and just generally as a country, as an entity, because evidently we speak about poaching every other time. We speak about, I remember the other time we had a drive of anti-logging, Keriaka to Biko, the CS, of course, at that point, then we question how far did we take it. We no longer hear conversations of the same today. Are we reactionary in nature?
I would say we are actionary.
Okay.
I would rather say a blend, because we have an effective, Directorate of Public Prosecutions. A good number of the team that we are working with in this current project is called a Wildlife Crime Mock Trial Competition. A good chunk of our trainees are actually officers of the Director of Public Prosecution who have had a chance to interact on a day-to-day basis with these cases. So at least I would say they are able to prosecute. It is ongoing. The matters are in court. And we have also seen results at some point. So I would say we are headed at the right direction. All we need is to collaborate and to share information so that we can also keep off the trouble.
As a people, because sometimes we just want to leave it for the legal fraternities.
Yes.
We want to leave it for the stakeholders that are under these entities. Say this one will leave it for tourism CS, for CS, for I don't know what and all that. And as a people, then we'd want to know how do we come in to make a difference?
How do we come in to make a difference? You can make a difference where you are.
Right.
If you live within, a forest area where you feel that you are able to conserve it, you are able to ensure that it is sustainable enough for you today and tomorrow. How do you use what you have now to ensure that tomorrow you do not put at risk what you have now, so that you can have it tomorrow for our children and our children's children? Are we able then to also say, collaborate with the officers that are working with us? If we have information about someone who is logging, for example, poaching, how are we able to get in touch with the law enforcement officers to ensure that we do not have more cases? How do we conserve environment even as we are sitting here with you? Do we litter around? Are we able to put our litter at a good place so that we do not have to have this is a kind of whatever we do right now will eventually affect tomorrow. How do we keep today? Ensure that you do your work diligently. You don't litter around. You report cases where you feel that is going across the law. Yes, just doing the right thing. Cooperating with the officers, ensuring that you are a neighbor's keeper. Yes.
Anything special for tomorrow as an environment day?
Not much from our end, because ideally what we are doing, we are currently finalizing with our project, the mock trial project. It's a 2-year funded State Department of US funded project where we train our prosecutors to handle these cases. We have had them participate in a competition, a mock trial, for example, like they're in court. And we give them a case where, for example, have illegal logging. We have linked it with other form of organized crime. So how are they able to articulate that case if they get it in their day-to-day life? We do not have a major incident tomorrow, but you're in the watch, and we are working with our other partners in this field.
All right. Yes. And speaking of working with other partners, that I would also want to understand that it's, or I would want to assume that it's really important to get together these individuals that have been, considered as those who are always working hand to make sure that it's not an easy one for the environment. In as much as we say that some of them actually do this without the knowledge that this is a bad thing that they're doing. While looking at communities that live close to the forest, it's hard to tell them, or do not slog, because then this is probably what they use on a day-to-day basis. And we talk about poachers, like you say, they are living out of that is quite profitable. So how do we get these individuals to a point where they will understand the importance of preserving the environment, the importance of preserving wildlife?
Yes, I like that aspect, because for example, I noted that one of the recommendations we had from one of our stakeholders was collaborations with communities living alongside conservation areas. And these collaborations will be in terms of even getting information from them on how best they would want this to work, how best, what would say public participation in policies, in new regulations that would affect what is in their border areas. So the first would be for the stakeholders to engage them, to hear from them. At the end of it all, we can hardly move a whole group of people to a different place. We would still want people to be able to take care of the environment where they live. So I would think, I would want to say that we would have collaborations with them, engage them, get to hear from them. What are the best practices that you can learn from each other? Because we can't win this war alone. You can't say that because you are a government or a partner, you are able to do this. We have to do this. At the end of it all, the communities also play a major role in ensuring that these areas are conserved properly. Yes.
All right, so let's talk about this special program that is on or has been on, you will tell us, and how then it goes a long way or comes in handy to make sure that we are going to make this game a game of the past in terms of wildlife crime and attaining the same.
Yes. So the wildlife mock trial competition, as I mentioned earlier, is a 2-year funded project by the U.S. Department of State. Why they did that, they identified that, of course, the cases are on the rise, and we need to build the capacity. And how do we build the capacity of the justice system actors? First, have them undergo trial advocacy training. We had participants undergo trial advocacy training where they are taught necessary skills to prosecute, to impeach witnesses, to cross-examine witnesses in court. And for the judges and magistrates, they also had a chance to get new skills on how to identify evidence, make proper judgment or ruling in cases relating to complex wildlife crime. So after that, after the trial advocacy training, there were a series of trainings starting in 2019. After that, they went to, they identified those who did well in those trainings, whose knowledge had improved in the course of that training. And they were able to undergo a series of now domestic mock trial. A file was created relating to wildlife crime. They were able to, part of those participants, acted as prosecutors, others as defense, and we also had judges who took part in that mock trial. It is ideally a copy-paste of our ordinary case in court, but it's just a mock of it. Because the facts relate to what happens today in every life, and even the evidence. It's what you would go to court and find. So out of that, we were able to identify the top teams. They were put in teams.
All right.
3 teams in Kenya, because this project works in Kenya and Tanzania. 3 teams of prosecutors and private lawyers in Kenya and Tanzania who did well in the trial advocacy. They now proceeded to what we call international mock trial, where we had again these 12 groups of 3 were mixed together, and they got into teams, and they received further training from judges, from former prosecutors in the US and other actors in the legal justice system. They were able to be trained on new other areas, emerging areas, current areas, and they now had to do this called the final round of the mock trial competitions.
Okay.
They had scrimmage rounds where they were prepared on how to argue their cases better with a new file that had been developed. Now, after that, they have gone through the first preliminary round. There are teams that all teams proceeded to the second preliminary round. Some were, left out. So 3 teams are going to the finals, which will be next week.
Okay.
We will be able to see, improved knowledge, improved collaborations, improved skills for these lawyers, so that when we get to see these cases, we are able to see them argue better in
Okay.
court.
All right, that is interesting. And here we are. We then ask ourselves, you say it's a US funded program.
Yes.
And then we'd want to understand, when you say it's a US funded program, just how much is the local government doing towards supporting the same? Because then if we're talking about protecting our very own wildlife, that is Kenyan wildlife, maybe talk about protecting Ugandan wildlife, Tanzanian wildlife, African wildlife for that matter. Why is it then it appears that it's of more interest to the West, to the Americans, as opposed to us?
Perhaps a reminder that we need to look closer home.
Okay.
Yes, we have magical environment, magical wildlife surrounding us. Not that we are really absent on what is with us, but we're just trying to enhance. Because of how complex this whole thing has come, we have to also be on alert to be able to combat the complexities that come with it.
Okay.
If there are new ways of poaching, for example, and someone uses wood, for example, we have like sandalwood, which is considered an endangered tree species. If someone is using it, making it in some form of ash and transporting it to another country so that it can make some artifact, for example, how then do we use this new way of how do we respond? I think for us it will be to enhance our response. We have a good functional system. We only need to enhance the response so that it can be up to date with what is currently happening.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I would not want to hit them hard because I'd assume that there are activities going on in terms of ensuring that we are able to protect wildlife. Do you suppose there's still more that they need to do? Have you engaged them, at such a level where they have shown interest in coming in handy to deal with this?
Yes. Of course, as we mentioned, we have been working in a really close range with, for example, Kenya Wildlife Service, and they were very good in terms of even providing information on how then the prosecutors can handle these new ways. Okay. Just keeping them in the know, knowing that you have to be aware that other than the normal way that the normal transport mechanism that there will be new things that will come. So I felt that this has been a great platform for the sharing of information from the actors in different states, state actors, so that collaboration can bring about some success in ensuring prosecution of these cases. So I think I have seen the thirst, the desire to have a collaborative way to ensure that at the end of it all, it's a win-win for Kenya, for Kenyans, and for the state at large.
Why a specific pick on Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania?
So Lawyers Without Borders has had a range of programs previously in Africa, but centered in Kenya because we have created good collaborations previously. Particularly Kenya and Tanzania, we have had projects running back. For example, Lawyers Without Borders played a key role in ensuring Kenya has a prosecution training institute. Close to 500 prosecutors have already received training from Lawyers Without Borders. So I will say they have set a ground here and worked collaboratively with state agencies here. So We are hoping that perhaps they would expand to other areas.
Okay.
But for now, we have had a good, really good relationship with them, and we hope for more collaborations in future.
All right.
Yes.
Well, and as we speak about this, the last, and I know you've taken us through extensively on the current program or the competition that is on, how well are the people who are involved receiving this, and what are the long-term goals of the same?
So our long-term goal we thought the idea, when you do something repetitively, people get to hear it, people get to normalize it. When you tell someone something today, you repeat it tomorrow, you repeat it the following week.
Okay.
There's a high likelihood that they will really internalize it and put it to practice. It will ring more in their mind. So why even it took longer was to achieve the goal of ensuring we have it get to us, we have it normalized in our work. So the goal was to ensure that we have improved skills.
Okay.
And I feel that we have been able to get that, because we've received feedback even from our former prosecutors who took part in this project, and they told us that they have been able to argue their cases better in court.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
They have been able to put these skills they took from us, they have been able to put them in practice, and they are doing much better than they came. So we feel that at some point we have been able to achieve what we came to do.
Okay.
We are hoping that going forward we can have that competitive spirit, that learning spirit, and just to be better, to be at pace with the rest of the world.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Speak of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. How different is it in how we are handling wildlife, in how we are handling these cases, in terms of the progress that we have made and all that?
I wouldn't, we more or less have some closeness in how we do our work.
Okay.
The same way the Director of Public Prosecution prosecutes those cases, the National Prosecution system in Tanzania does the same. So we more or less have the same systems, and we are more or less on the same pace, I would say, in terms of conservation, because there are all other actors in conservation in Kenya and in Tanzania.
Right.
We are doing a lot in terms of just ensuring we are in the same pace, but we're also able to respond to emerging cases. We are doing well. We are hoping we can do better.
All right.
Yes.
How much more would you expect the U.S. to actively be involved in funding some of these projects? Like we say, we'd want to do whatever it is that you're doing repetitively, and therefore we probably have a long way to go still before we get to a place where we consider satisfactory or satisfying for that matter. So what efforts are being put to see to it that, well, as Lawyers Without Borders, there is a special arrangement of funding of the progress, because we do not definitely expect them to be there funding all through.
Absolutely. And the sustainability calls for us to have new ideas on how to ensure such programs go on with or without funding from foreign agencies. So what I saw recently, we are trying to get collaborations with other actors who are doing what we are doing. Other, for example, actors in wildlife crime. There is a consortium of lawyers dealing with wildlife crime outside Kenya, outside Tanzania. We are hoping when we get such collaborations, we do not have to look for one fund. We can share information with the consortium that is currently there. Okay. So that we do not have to rely. We can also revise. We can just ideally sharing information that we may get from other partners who are working in the same field, without necessarily having to rely on the major donor. But we are hoping we can have future collaborations so that we can keep this going. Yes.
All right, as we close, what would be your parting shots, and especially on a day like tomorrow, where we celebrate the environment?
What I would say is that what we do today is what will determine what tomorrow will be. So we have to be conscious about our environment. We have to be really careful how we stay around us, how we keep the environment around us. Because if we do not take care of the environment today, tomorrow we will have nothing to take care of us.
That's true.
Yes, so we have to be true to this cause. We have to be on the lookout to ensure that we call out each other, if we feel that someone who is doing something illegal, at the end of it all, we all stand to lose.
Yeah.
We need the forests, we need the animals, we have that symbiotic relationship. They need us. So we have to ensure we conserve. We have to be very careful with what we do today, because it will catch up with us if we don't do the right thing tomorrow.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. And as we close, then I'd want you to tell us, while there could be that basic knowledge of what one needs to do, like we said, and I think that is one thing that we need to be very keen about, that some of the people actually are being radical on the environment without knowing that this is not right, this is not supposed to be done that way. And therefore, aside from the basic knowledge, what more is being done to sensitize the people? What more is being done to make sure that they understand this information that is there? What more is being done to make this actual information, take this information at their disposal, so that, well, then one would not appear in court and claim that they did not have an idea.
Yes, they say ignorance of the law is not defense. So what more we are doing is why we are here, for example, today. We are in the media.
That's
and
true.
Media, gets information to the people. The reason why we chose to get to the media is because we felt it will be we are hoping more people can watch and learn, more people can reach out. We will be doing a bit of media outreach, hoping that information that we pass, it doesn't have to get to all people. But people can share information based on what they have listened or watched today. The media is an important tool to tell these stories. If we don't have the media, we're not able to tell this story. So we have a long way to go in terms of even sensitizing the public. But the little that we are doing, we are trying to sensitize them. For example, currently for our project through the media, we are hoping that we can have 1 or 2 people pick up this information and share.
That's true.
We have to do a lot of outreaches and collaboration so that the people can know, because we do not, if we have an uninformed public, again we are back to square one.
That's true.
We are hoping that the information we share today can be of impact to the people outside there, and people can share this information. So we'll be looking forward to having more outreaches so that people can hear this, and we can just conserve the environment at the end of it all.
Wow. Simiyu Patricia, Assistant Attorney at Lawyers Without Borders. Thank you so much. Congratulations on what it is that you're doing. We can only hope that indeed it bears fruits. So far, so good, we'd say, but we hope to take it to the next level. All this in a bid to protect our wildlife. Very, very important as we celebrate Environment Day, World Environment Day tomorrow. Make sure that you take part in preserving the environment, because then that's the only way it takes care of you. That is tomorrow. Very, very important. It's actually not tomorrow. We don't keep saying tomorrow. It's actually as early as today. Yes, and so it is incumbent upon you to be part of this noble cause. And on that note, we close this session. We get to some bit of entertainment. Remember, it's a full house of activities right here on Morning Cafe. This morning, Marvel Executive car hire on board. Courtesy of them, I walked into the stage in style, grand style for that matter, and it's not just any other stage. Look at how beautiful my set is this morning. All this courtesy of Blooms and Drapes Events Limited. They are doing this beautiful, kind of setup, or they did this beautiful kind of setup, and they can always do something of your preference. Look at how executive it appears and how beautiful it appears. That is to tell you, if you check them out, they can always make sure that your event is an event that is going to be memorable, one that you do not forget about. Well, based on the beauty, we always say that, these are some of the key things that you need in your events. Just want to get into your event in a nice car, executive car for that matter. You want it to sit in a setup that is all memorable. If you look at it, it will bring the best of the photos, and that's what we're doing right here. We make sure that at least you have the best of meals in terms of a nice cake that is well set up, blending with the theme, and the environment is cool and beautiful. And that's what we are reminding you, that, well, in as much as we say that we're not gathering for events, you can make it simple, easy, back at home. Just look at how beautiful this is, and so simple, and you can just have a couple of people around and 2-3 tables that would probably make your event memorable. So make sure that you take advantage of this, and later on we'll also be having conversations with fashion designers who will tell us how well, you can dress up for an event. I mean, long gone are those days where you just show up like that. You don't show up like that, man. You know, you go an extra mile for a day, and that's all that we are about this morning. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela, TV47KE. Lots of music. Drop your comments, drop your requests. Fredia will make sure that he plays this music for you, and we'll also be giving you a cake to celebrate that person that you love, or celebrate yourself. It depends on the event of the day. It's their birthday. It is time that you celebrate that birthday. So make sure that you stick around up until 9 a.m. because I guarantee you nothing but the best. Let's go to Fredia for some bit of music. Thank you.